Hello, everyone, and welcome to Horror Night Oasis, a radio show where we discuss all the latest movies and news from the world of horror. Joining me tonight, as always, is my co-host, Ian. Ian, are you breathing?
I hope so.
You're not drowning, and I don't want to get into it, but I'm messing with you. I'm messing with you. The joys of fatherhood.
Yeah.
But we're here, continuing on our Pride or Die marathon. And we kicked it off last week with a interesting one, and we needed something to the yin to the yang, as they would say it, because that was again sort of glitzy and glamorous, and we needed something dirty and grimy, and we decided, you know what, let's throw this into the mix, and that's our choice for tonight here when we get into it. I guess honestly, Ian, I mean, there's really no chit chatting, but there's really nothing else to really get into per se, news wise. So I guess we just go ahead and get into the movie. And our choice is Scissors. And as I said, we wanted something a little dirty, a little vile, and that's what we got with Scissors. Now, judging by the poster, I mean, it's just you look at it like, all right, this looks sort of gross and this, grimy. It has that in in spades a little bit, and when the film kicks off, it starts that way too. But let's get into the synopsis of the film. So, Scissors takes place where there is a serial killer on the loose, basically, and he is stalking gay men through various methods, mainly through a dating app or a hookup app called Glory Mate. And he is sort of he has a interesting, sort of a blow up doll sort of mouth covering opening, and then sort of like a gimp mask with like a covering over the right side eye. And so he is killing these guys at these glory holes and castrating them in various methods, and then as well as torturing. He kidnaps some of them, brings them back to his place, and tortures them. And at and so we have all the bodies that's being showing up across the city that this is happening in, and the mayor is wanting to, like asking the detectives, like, hey, I'm coming up for re-election. I need you to get this under wraps. And so we have Detective Carter and Detective Reynolds, and they're, again, trying to pinpoint this serial killer and understand his motives and his MO and any sort of questions and answers pertaining to the serial killer and the murders by going to various people and talking to various people and talking among themselves as well, trying to understand why this killer is doing the things he's doing. Sometimes they're saying, oh, it could be just an angry person going after gay people. Just a lot of other things. It just could be a one-off serial killer just doing his thing. Just a lot of questions and a lot of talking with the detectives trying to figure out the reasoning behind scissors. And again, the medical examiner gave him the nickname Scissors because of snip snip uh, in the nether regions. Um, and so it's sort of a mixed bag overall, in my opinion. Again, I'm gonna stop it there, and then we'll go more into spoilers a little bit later. Honestly, this film's sort of a mixed bag. It has, I think, a solid opening. Just solid opening start. Again, whenever your movie opens with a pair of testicles nailed to a wall, I mean,
Yeah.
you pretty much have my attention. Like, okay, so we're starting off strong with a pair of testicles nailed to the wall, and then it kind of keeps up that pace for a while. Like anytime his Scissors is on screen, he's like this giddy child, you know, just killing people and torturing people. Um, and like he has all these these gay mannerisms where like he's like doing the the arm and the finger swirl and just the movements and the head twirls and nods and um, just someone that's like really sort of like turned on and like wanting like is getting a good thrill out of everything that's happening through all the the murder and torture. And he's just playful and giddy with his victims, and it's just like this is my thing, and he's like just like he's like showing off, he's just like he's like, "This is my game, and I want you in it." And he's just like playing, and he's just like I loved everything about Scissors. Don't get me wrong, I loved everything about him. He was like when you have a character like that, and he like someone is like really into the role and doing everything. It's sort of like going back to like Brutal. I think that might have been the film you mentioned. Said we saw something similar where like
Yeah.
Brutal, the father, is like he was like so well intent on getting the revenge on the character. Like this one is sort of like the same way, but it's like instead of revenge, it's like just like this thrill of like wanting to like torture someone and like it's like foreplay in a sense. Like he does some like torturous foreplay. Like he takes like a knife and or or rubs it across someone's body or like plays with their nipples and like cuts their shirts off and then like he like rubs them up and down with like a sharp object and stabs them in the side and then like like playfully opens it one in one particular scene and then he does that back and forth and like of course like he puts a gag in the person's mouth and then again you have all the top foreplay with the body, the stomach and torso, and then like he's like, oh, but I'm not done yet, and then like he starts pointing at their crotch or or wants to he brings something else out like later on there like he brings out a hook and like he looks at the hook and he looks at the person and he's like, oh, I can't wait to do this. And so like everything about Scissors and all the scenes with Scissors I really enjoyed because it's just like that mentality of just like when there's a character that knows the role and just like is able to perform that role, I'm all into it. Um, and then you have the scenes with the detectives, and at first I wasn't thinking anything of it because like okay, just a lot of talking, trying to find the serial killer, but then it got too procedural and too talky. Um, and then it just like I again I know what they're trying to go for, and then but it just at times it just felt like you're dragging the film a little down with all these talky parts. And like again, I know what they're trying to do. They're trying to set up, try to find the killer, trying to figure out, pinpoint the murders. But after a while, it was just a lot. The film started to get repetitive. So you'd have Scissor come along, meet up with someone in a glory hole, kill them, attack them, and then you have the detectives come in have conversations. Then it cuts back to Scissors setting up another kill at a glory hole or at a location with a hole in it set up. Sometimes it's just a sheet, and like again, I like some of the dialogue too. And like, man, I like like what's the pizza guy when there's again. I don't want to get into too specifics with like some kills, but like there's a guy in there. He's called the pizza guy, and like, man, I like glory holes, but I don't like them crusty. There's like scenes like that where it's just like sort of like just a little dirty, but they don't really go full dirty. Something like I was thinking of like the cockface killer movies, or like the Gorgasm and stuff, where it's just like sort of filthy, um, and just like over the top, gross humor set along with a killer. Of course, the cockface killer has like the dildo attached to his chin. Um, and just like again, it's just like the dirty stuff, filthy stuff in that film. But like this one is just like a little, not it doesn't reach that vile level. Like I wouldn't say vile, but the filthy level of the cockface killer films. But it's still there. It's I guess what I'd say is like it's playful dialogue. It's like two guys. Again, I don't know. It's like what it felt like is like a bunch of people in a gay chat room. Like a double list or something. Like just like dudes trying to find dudes. To like, hey, I'll come give you a suck job. Just like they're just like dudes like trying to hook up, and they're just like that. Playful dialogue basically, and you have that, and it just kind of coincides with like lame. I wouldn't say just uninteresting conversations where it's just like very procedural, very talky, uh, and then you counterbalance that with Scissors and his playful, giddy antics and all the kills and torture methods that he does, and like it just like it's very rinse repeat, and it just becomes a little sort of null after a while, where you're just sitting there like you're into the film at first, and then it just slowly just kind of meanders, and like whenever Scissors comes on screen I'm happy, and then it just kind of goes blah after a while. And like even towards the later end of things, and like more kills happen, like it still starts to become too repetitive, and even the kills start to become a little redundant and long. And it's like the film shouldn't do that. Like I shouldn't have that feeling. Like I should have had like this crazy antics of the like just keep it going. It's like the conversations with the detectives kind of just peter out a bit towards the end there. And I get again towards the end you understand things, but even though it still kind of abruptly happens, but even though they point it out along the way, but again, it just again the you have to watch it to understand it's just abrupt. um, Ian knows what I'm talking about. But Ian, I think I'm gonna stop there, let you give your thoughts, and then we'll go back and forth and maybe get into some more spoiler stuff. Ian, are you there?
I accidentally
Uh,
muted myself.
okay, there we are.
I was like, I was sitting there talking. I was agreeing with you, and I guess that nothing was heard. No, what I was saying before I, realized I was muted. Yeah, no, this film, I want like it should have been better. Like it's just one of those films that had a lot of stuff going for it that they relied too heavy on the wash, rinse, and repeat uh, method instead of like really diving deeper into other things. Like instead of it was mostly just this killer, you know, killing. Then you had the cops talking, and it really didn't go much further. And I really
No,
wanted, I wanted it because something like this would be community devastating, and I wish they kind of would have went deeper into that. Um, and I mean, I saw where it was going to go. I knew, like, the ending. I kind
Yeah,
of
I mean, that
came back
ending's
a little bit because of, like, the what all transpired with that scene. I was like, wait, oh, so it's okay, and then it looped around, and I was like, oh, I'm okay. I was like, that just kind of came out of the left field, but it wasn't bad. It just had so much potential that it kind of squandered. And I was really hoping for us to get into, like, more of the community. Um, the kills were great. The kills were fine. I just wanted more, like, story and more than just, like, the senseless violence, which wasn't bad. Um, the gore effects were pretty good. I liked that. The acting was fine. I mean, this movie really did have a lot going for it, and you
oh
can
yeah.
kind of tell what they were trying to get at with all of this, with the messaging and everything. But I felt like it kind of just was just a little blasé for my taste. Um, would draw you in a little bit, and then it just kind of drifted away, and then draw you in just a little bit more, and then drift away, and it just kept doing that until it was over.
Yeah, and as you said, like, you have the kill, Scissors doing a interesting kill, and then you have the cops like, hey, there's a call, there's a body, we got to go to it, and then they go to the body, and then they go to the morgue, and then they see it cut to going to another body, and then they come back to the morgue, and like there's like no really sense of time elapsed. It's all like quick, 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 and like there's like you needed to have, like, again, like, cut some of that down a little bit. Like I get it, like, procedural aspects, but as you said, like, it needed to have more urgency for the just like the gay community, for like, oh, this is like, but it just felt like for what it's trying to achieve, it kind of lacks in that department, where it's just like it's trying to be like a warning to, like, be careful about everything, and of course, like, sticking your dick in a hole that you don't know what's on the other side, but the dangers of that, of course. But like, it just felt like it didn't do anything. It was more about like, we got to find this killer and we help the mayor, and like, and then like all the other stuff with like the hook, the glory mate, and just the random guys that come across there. Again, I like the conversations text scroll that happens with like all the messages, when because Scissors gets the phones out of people's, and I like how he does that. Like, he one of them has to do the finger scan, and then one has to do the face unlock on the phone, and he's just like having, he's all giddy, um, trying to figure that out. But yeah, like, it just like it misses the mark in what it's trying to achieve, and it's just like it like it's just like a showcase of like, hey, let's just kill gay people, or let's kill guys that you know
Yeah,
go to glory holes or something. And it's just like it didn't really have no like like really a message pertaining to anything like that, um per se. Like, I mean, the danger's there, but it just like felt, as I said, it's just like very, very procedural. And like, it didn't, the detectives only talked about themselves, or like not about like, oh, this is only about like, could it be, like a bigot attacking, gay men. That's the only instance that they brought up anything pertaining to the gay community. um, and where it needed to be like more involved. And like I like the beginning where it had like the trans girl um, come into the thing, but like there needed to be more stuff like that, or just like in general, um, where it's just like it's the whole that gay community, or just like not just like random guys on hookup sites, or hookup amps.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I mean, I just kind of wish it just went deeper, like I said, into more of the community, just figuring out how to, like, you know, with hookup culture. I understand, what, like I said, I I can kind of see what message they're trying to get at. Um, and the hookup culture and the everything surrounding all that, I just feel like they should have done a little more with it, like, because I mean, all like you said, all we got, almost everything was just the cops and the killer and a news outlet
and a
here
little
and there.
bit, yeah, you get a little bit of like the victims and like their mentality and how they act when they're going to the glory hole. Like the pizza guy, and then like the one that was behind the sheet, looking in the hole of the sheet, and he's sitting there with his pants off, and he's just like looking like, "Where are you? Where's the
Yeah,
sausage?" Like you get like some of that, but that's just like I don't know. And then you get the the body. I wouldn't say he's a bodybuilder, but the guy that worked out,
that got
and
on my
yeah, and like you have a lot of scenes with like men up against the walls, penetrating it, and like their conversations are like again moaning and stuff like that. And there's that one scene. I think it's like the first glory hole encounter, when you see scissors and like it's like running off of his mask after everything. So it's like that's where I get where like it's sort of like a little bit dirty and filthy, where it's just like it's trying, but it just does. It needed a little bit more in that regard of just keep it going. Like you really drew me in with scissors and his antics and the way he tortures and murders people, and then you just have this counterbalance with the detectives, and it's just like very procedural and just like kind of dull and lame, and the conversations don't really serve no purpose than to serve themselves. I'm talking about the detectives, and not as the whole as a community. Like, oh, we need to gather like these people, like it's just like very nonchalant and just like pedestrian in that regard. Where just like, oh, we need to talk to the survivor. Oh, he's in a coma. Like, okay, well, and you get any, or whenever he comes to, get back to us. Okay, well, I'll do that. And then we have that elongated scene where she walks from the counter to the bed of the person, the victim that got away, and it's just like a lot of elongated scenes. There's the coroner who's like listening to music and dancing around while looking at around in the morgue, and it's just like there's stuff like that, and like they could have had like more dialogue with the coroner, and it felt like again you got the nickname he gave Scissors, but like they needed to have like more conversation because it seemed like he was familiar with stuff in that regard with the like what's going on. Um, and then you have like later on they introduce like Carter's wife and stuff like that, and they're like that kind of gets shoehorned in there for a little bit. Like, where's this come from? And then, I mean, I guess it's a counterpoint to Reynolds and his arc, um, or the way he is, because he's always talking about things as well. And just like there's no other, there's like two, just the two detectives. And like, again, the mayor only has like one or two scenes and just like, hey, we need to figure out this killer. I'm coming up for re-election. And it's just like very the story is there, but they don't do what they should do with it to make something like again you have the sort of the torture filthy aspects of Scissors, and then you have just this CSI Miami procedural stuff. And it's just like it doesn't mesh. You have this Saw-esque, torture in a sense with the killer, just cutting people open and stabbing them and castrating them and all that stuff. And then you just have, I wouldn't say Saw-esque. I mean, it's just like, I guess, like Terrifier, Art the Clown stuff with killing. Um, and just like his mannerisms, with Scissors. And then you just have this police drama. And it's just like, ugh. And it's just like, again, very, very repetitive. And it goes, rinse and repeat the same thing. It doesn't really change much. You have Scissors with a glory hole kill, or he's torturing someone on the gurney. The detective calls someone, hey, we found a body. They go there. They see that he's missing a penis. They talk some more, and then they go somewhere. They have another conversation. Scissors sets up another kill somewhere, whether it be another glory hole or a empty house somewhere. Proceeds to torture said person, find the corpse, missing penis, same MO, detectives talk, blah, blah. It's just the very same thing, rinse and repeat. And just again, after a while, it just felt like it drawn on way too long. So it like this was like almost an hour 40 at least, or maybe an hour 35. And just
Yeah.
like it didn't need to be that long. Like it could have been trimmed down some, made it an even 80 minutes, and we still would have got the point across. And I think it would have been a much finer watch. And like you're in and out quick, you got everything you needed, you still would have got the point across.
Yeah, no, I feel like it could have been cut down, or at least some of the scenes taken out. And because, you know, I feel like what really makes movies more menacing to me is seeing how everybody else around them is affected, instead of just like a couple of people here and there. And I feel like I wasn't really drawn into this little world. Um, and that it just kind of just felt like they just were just killing gay people to kill them. Um, and I get it, we without trying to get too much into spoilers and all that. It's like they try to get a message across, and I just felt like it wasn't fully fleshed out. That's just the kind of sense I get. And a couple of the dialogues in the film, like the "Do you live, bro?" It just it just came off a little forced. And like, I mean, I get it, but it was just kind of, I don't know. I just was kind of felt like it was just being pushed too hard. But but it's a fine watch. I enjoyed it for what it was.
Yeah, like I'm right there with you. I mean, of course, when you have penises getting castrated, I'm all for it. Like that's one of
Yeah,
my main. That's a staple. Like whenever someone gets castrated, you have me at the get go. Balls nailed to a wall at the start of the film. Okay, you got me in your wheelhouse. Now take me on a journey. Sadly, the journey just didn't end up where I needed it to take me. Um, I mean, it still had like all the stuff that I kind of enjoy. It had the torture and it had a lot of castrations. Um, and there were some interesting methods of torture. Minor spoilers, but one involved a fish tank, which I don't think I've ever seen before. The way that played out. So again, they had some interesting scenes and some kills. And I like the setup. The glory hole setup. Um, I just love everything. How that turned around. Like played out. And I just like the, I wouldn't say the menacing, because he's not really menacing. He's just giddy. Everything about Scissors, he's just like very playful and giddy, and he's just like he's just in this, he wants to be in this lifestyle of just like men and just, again, servicing dudes. But then he just has that sick spot where like it's more than just servicing dudes. He wants to end them and murder them and torture them and play with them and so much more. He's not just a sex object basically, because he's, the mask up and everything. He wants to have a little bit more playtime with his clients in a sense. Um, and again, I like that aspect of it. Like you kind of gotta. I mean, again, without getting into spoilers, I mean, it makes sense as the film, when it gets to the conclusion of the film, like you understand, even though it's fairly easy to figure that out early on, because it's not hard. I'll say that much. Um, but just like everything else, just the detectives talking and like it, like you said, it needed like another character from the gay community or some gay club, like talking about like things going on. Maybe even have, again, it could have just been the coroner, you know, like, hey man, I know this lifestyle. This is it's crazy out there. Just do something to like bring it home, like make it an urgency of like you need to go after, you need to go to clubs or something. You need to go out there and look for stuff like that. But it just felt very basic in that regard, where it's just like they're just going to talk. We're going to talk over sandwiches and burgers and just talk about the case and like, oh, this has the same MO from a killer 13 years ago, and then just like cut off that conversation and show a build up to another kill of the person in the glory holes. So like everything that like they're trying to build up on, they just said no, sweep that under the rug. Here's a kill, and like again, I don't mind that. Just like it could have helped the story a little bit more than just to brush it aside. When it comes to what they're trying to, the world, I wouldn't say world building, but like just like this kill, building up all these kills and the MOs um, and like the community aspect of things, and they just like shrug it off, and it's like, and again, um, the two detectives are the directors of the film. I don't know if you knew that, Ian, but it's like
I
again,
didn't.
like yeah, like they're the directors of the film. So like I appreciate them coming out there and like making the film and everything, but it just felt like again, like they had this solid idea, and I don't know where it went off to like the detectives just like not caring that much. Like they're wanting to find the killer and stuff, but like it's not the like there's just not like no sense of urgency, and it's just like everything that the detectives do, like, oh, here come the detectives, and it just like took me out of the film, and I wasn't really, I was paying attention, but like I just really wasn't caring, honestly. And then here comes
Yeah.
Scissors, and finally something interesting happening, and torture and castration and scissors impaling stomachs and hooks going through mouths and all kinds of stuff, and it's just like I was like, I'm all for it, and then here comes the detectives. Oh man, what are we gonna do? We can't find him. I don't know, man. We gotta talk to somebody. Yeah, but we have to figure out what's going on, man. And it's just like it's the same. It's just same mundane conversations, and just it didn't add to the story. It didn't make the story any more impactful. It didn't have an urgency. It just felt just, as you said, blasé. And it's just like there's nothing there, and like it needed to be stronger, and it just needed a better, I wouldn't say the pacing was, again it could have been shorter, but it just needed something there to like make it whole. And again, everything with Scissors solid, but just those detective conversations just kind of just very basic and procedural and just didn't really lead nowhere. I mean, it kind of does for the reveal, but even then, it's just kind of like you already know the ending. Like if you pay close attention or you watched enough horror films, you pretty much know the ending. But it just didn't. Even that again, and then when that happens, it just abruptly ends. And like, okay, why? Like I don't know.
Yeah. Well, yeah, no, like I agree with everything you said, and I feel like at least they did try. I just felt like it could just been a little better, but I don't really think there's much left to pick at this movie.
No, no. I mean, I think we're pretty much snipped off. As much as we can talk about without getting into spoilers. And again, I don't really want to get into spoilers with this one. I kind of want people to go in, if you're interested in it, give it a watch and then come back with your opinions of the film. Um, Maybe you'll agree or disagree. We always enjoy hearing your thoughts on stuff. But yeah, like if you're interested, give it a check out. It's on I believe it's on Tubi. And honestly, it's honestly one of the stronger efforts for Tubi as well. You get some pretty crappy ones occasionally, and that one, it kind of for what it is, it kind of surprising. And again, I had fun with it to a point. And but again, Scissors. I mean, everything with Scissors, his mannerisms, the way he acts, and just his gleefulness when it comes to torturing people and everything else. Like I had fun with it. I had fun with the glory hole kills. Like I like the one with the party goer. He comes up and he just presents his ass to the glory hole, and he's like, "What's going on? Come on!" And there's like stupid stuff like that where it's just like I had fun with it.
Yeah.
There, the castrations, all that's fun stuff. Um, it's just like yeah, there's fun moments to be had if you like sort of the filthy sort of disgusting sort of stuff ideas that's tossed in there. Again, it's not full on filth, but there's some. Again, like I said early on, there's the one glory hole set up, and then you cut to Scissors' face, and he has again stuff running out of his mouth. Still, um, so it's like it sets it up, but it's not too in your face with being truly filthy. But Scissors is just I just think that whole character was fun, even though for what he is. I really enjoyed his mannerisms. So it kind of gives it a nod, in my opinion. But Ian, I think that's going to do it. Any final thoughts?
None that I can that's coming to mind right now. I think I got all my thoughts out.
Yeah. So yeah, like I said, if you want to see some fun, build up, some fun torture scenes, because there are some pretty solid torture scenes and methods in here, and a lot of castrations. I'd say give it a go. Um, I, it's not going to hit the mark as you would hoped it would. I will say that. Maybe it does for you. Maybe it, for others it will or won't. Um, but for us, it's kind of middle of the road with a few high spots and some practical effects. And so with that, I will put a close to our Pride or Die marathon for this week. We will continue it on with another choice next week. Ian, as always, been great talking with you, talking about these movies. When you have two guys talking about castrations, I mean, you're pretty much bonded, and we always have some fun conversations to be had. And so I'm always glad to share them with you. So I thank everyone for listening, and we will see you next time as we continue on the Pride or Die marathon here on Horror Night Oasis.
Good night, everyone.